In this video, we'll be looking at how to conjugate a verb belonging to the group 3rd-io in the present tense. And to do that, I'm going to use fugio, fugere, the verb to flee. To start conjugating fugio in the present tense, the first thing we need to do is to copy the dictionary definition into its corresponding box on the chart for the present tense. That first word of the dictionary definition is the first person singular. Here I am with my chart to make the present tense of fugio. And the first part of the dictionary definition, that very first principal part, goes here in this first box because it is the first person singular. So I'm going to enter fugio, F-U-G-I, long O, and that's the verb that means I flee, or I am fleeing, or I do flee. Now I'm ready to add my stem. I'm going to find that by removing the last three letters from the infinitive. So something, here represented by X, R-E. And then that stem will go in all the other boxes, which I haven't touched yet. Here's the E-R-E that I'm going to ignore, and everything in front of it will be my stem. So the stem for this particular verb is F-U-G. I'm going to put that in all my empty boxes because that will start all the other present tense forms. To start the third step, I need to identify the conjugation of this verb. So I'm going to look at the last three letters, and specifically that vowel that I'm going to see in front of the RE in the infinitive, or second word of the dictionary definition. And it's also important to note that if the infinitive ends in a short ERE, I also need to look at the first principal part to see whether it's going to be a normal third conjugation verb or part of a special group called 3rd-io. Here we are back at the dictionary definition, fugio, fugere. Sure enough, the last three letters of the infinitive are ERE. No macrons, no long mark. This means that it's a third conjugation verb. However, as soon as I realize that, I need to also look at the first part of the dictionary definition. Specifically, I need to look at what's in front of this O. If there weren't an I there, like in the video where we did petto, petera, it would be a normal third conjugation verb, and I would know how to proceed. But it's really important that I note this I in the first principal part, fugio. That's where the name 3rd-io comes from. So this verb belongs to a special subgroup within third conjugation called 3rd-io. And it's important to note that this is not a regular third conjugation verb because usually when forming its parts, and that includes the present tense, a 3rd-io verb will actually look a lot more like fourth conjugation than it does third. To continue step 3, now I'm ready to think about what vowel I'm going to add onto all those empty stems I have hanging around. Because this is a 3rd-io verb, the vowel I'm going to use is I. However, it's important to note this exception. When I have a 3rd-io or fourth conjugation verb, instead of just adding I in the third person plural, I'm going to add IU. So, another way to check yourself when you're doing that is, if there was an I in front of the letter O, in the first principal part, then there should be an I in front of the U when you're creating the third person plural. If the O didn't have an I in front of it, then the U doesn't need an I in front of it. Here we are back at our chart. The vowel used by 3rd-io, and fourth is the vowel I. So I'm going to come back in and add that everywhere. And I'm going to keep it here in the third person plural because I had an I here in front of the O, which is telling me that it's going to use that I everywhere. But because of that dorky phrase that's going to help us remember it isn't int, I'm going to remember that before I get to step 4, I'm going to have to include this U here in the third person plural. That's an exception. I got to remember to put that U in there after the I. Now I'm ready for the last step, which is just to add the endings. These are the personal endings that indicate which person is the subject of the verb. I don't need the O because I've already copied that form from the dictionary, but I'm going to add all the others. And finally, this is what your chart should look like at the end. I've added those endings on in red to get fugis, you flee, fugit, he, she, or it flees, fugimus, we flee, fugitus, you all flee, and then fugiunt with the I and the U for they flee. And that is how you form the present tense of a 3rd-io verb.